Good day to all our viewers here in Anne Arundel County and all around the state. My name is Joseph Olmo, reporting for the Arundel Patriot. I'm here with Melissa Ellis, who is running for Anne Arundel County Board of Education, District 4. Melissa, how are you?
I'm good.
Thanks so much for accepting the interview with us. Melissa, tell us a little bit about who you are, and then lead that into what inspired you to eventually run for the Anne Arundel County Board of Education.
Okay. So I am currently a mom of 4 children.
Okay.
My husband and I, Chuck, live in Millersville.
Okay.
I'll try to briefly go through my background. I graduated from UMBC with a degree in psychology. Went out into the corporate world. I have background in retail management, human resources management.
Aviation?
Yes,
Aviation.
I was a flight coordinator
Yeah.
out in California, and logistics. I worked on the Port Hueneme Naval Station in
Gotcha.
California. So sort of a jack of all trades.
Yeah.
And I'm someone who, when I get into something, whether it be a job or a project, I just jump in with both feet and
Yeah,
go all in.
absolutely.
So when we started our family, I quickly began to realize that I was gonna.
But there were issues with the schools that you wanted to try
Yeah,
and fix.
yes. Well, even before we got into the school system, I knew that I wanted to put all my efforts into parenting at the time, because our kids are each 2 years apart. So,
Okay.
and we have 4 of them. So it made sense for me to stay home. So I stayed home with the kids. I sent our first 2 children into the public schools and pulled them out and started homeschooling them. Middle of 3rd grade, middle of 1st grade. Started having some issues with the direction that education was taking in general.
Yeah, that would be my question. Why did you decide to pull them out? What were some factors in Anne Arundel County Public Schools that made you want to pull your kids out and homeschool them?
So, to be fair, many of my issues are not unique to Anne Arundel County.
Okay.
It's sort of a direction our whole country has taken with standardization and testing, and I felt like kids were losing the depth.
Yeah.
In the classroom, and they were losing the excitement. And that's what I saw happen to my kids. My daughter, who was always sort of, she always had a book in her hand. She's always eager to learn. Started to lose some.
She
of
wasn't
that.
anymore.
Yeah.
I understand. So, we've already kind of gone through, your reason to run, but what issues do you see right now as issues that Anne Arundel County residents and students face as students, teachers, staff, whatever, in our schools here?
Well, going back, but continuing on from what I was explaining about the depth of learning, and I don't see our school systems developing the whole child. And I know a lot of people say, well, it's up to the parents to build character and the schools to educate, but
Yeah.
kids don't check everything at the door when they walk in and spend 6-7 hours in the building.
Yeah.
They're developing in this environment, and the whole child needs to be addressed. It's not just input of information,
Right.
So now I have 2 kids now back in public school. They're at Annapolis High School.
Okay, which is where we're at right now.
And they've gone through, while they are thriving academically and socially, they've experienced a lot of stresses with teacher turnover.
Okay.
Again, just the curriculum, the method of teaching, and the standardization and the testing has just kind of taken the passion out of
Understood.
education.
Absolutely. So one of the biggest issues, nearly 2 months ago, Parkland, Florida, on February 14th, school security is, after that, sparked a national debate. 2 of the biggest policies that we would think would come with that would be arming teachers and putting metal detectors in schools. So let's start with arming teachers. You for, against that? What do you think?
I'm against that.
Against it, 100%.
Yeah, 100%.
Why are you against it?
I don't.
You're
think
trying to pick out the reason,
that's not,
right?
Well, yeah. Which one?
Yeah.
It's not what teachers signed up for.
Yeah.
It's not what I'm hearing teachers want to be doing.
Yeah.
I hear many teachers are terrified that they would be overpowered.
I mean, as a mother, not looking at, a member of the Board of Education, but as a mother, sending your kids to
It
school,
would not make me feel safe.
it would not make you feel safe.
No, no, it would
Absolutely.
not.
What about metal detectors in schools?
I'm against that too.
Why? How about?
So I'm an avid reader. I read everything about education. I research all the time. And the research indicates that the more prison-like you make the school feel, the more you feed these problems.
Yeah.
And logistically, it would be a nightmare. I mean, I don't know how it works. I'm not maybe that tech savvy, but kids walking in with binders and keys and everything else, how would the metal detectors work? It seems like it would take an hour to get kids just into the school and out of the school, which creates a security issue right there. You got all this mob of kids every day.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. I don't think that's the answer.
Well, I kind of want to go back on what you said. You know, making it it feeds the problem when it makes the school feel like a prison. Right. Do you think that schools already feel like a prison right now? And to add on top of that, you know,
yes.
how would you fix that?
You know, I would love to give my own kids as examples of what they talk about, but I should not speak publicly about my kids, but I know with conversations, let's say with my kids and their friends,
right?
Yeah, they're feeling that way. They
Absolutely.
feel kind of disrespected as people with how institutionalized the schools feel to them.
Understood.
And it's not their teachers. I've had many amazing teachers in the school. It's just the daily grind and routine that happens in the schools. I want to get so creative, and there's so many amazing things that are being done elsewhere across the country, across the world. I want our schools to be much more integrated with the community. I want to bring more businesses into the school and help kids actually create and produce things because that helps them learn.
Yeah, absolutely. So, lottery benefits. Should they go towards teachers' salaries? What should they go for?
Well,
what do you think?
Over the last probably several decades, but I know over the last 10 years, all the increases in spending, pretty much all the increases in spending have gone to administration and non-teaching positions. Our money absolutely has to get in these schools to the people who are...
And stay in the schools.
Yes, who are interacting with our kids on a daily basis. They're the ones where the work happens. And yes, absolutely, that is my priority is teacher salary and retention. And getting enough guidance counselors.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so the money in the schools,
Gotcha.
not at central office.
Right,
Yes.
so next question here. Chesapeake High School made at least regional news with what was going on with teachers using racial slurs to students using them to students even possibly saying them back to teachers. I mean, should there be a zero tolerance policy to stuff like this? And more importantly, how are you going to stop this? Because, you know, that's something that's present here in Annapolis High School. As a former high school student as well, obviously, not with Anne Arundel County Public Schools, but in Anne Arundel County, it exists everywhere.
Of course.
So, you know, zero tolerance policy, should there be? You know, what should these students and or teachers that use these terms towards other faculty, staff, you know, the biggest problem is a lot of people think it's just the students, but you have to also look at, you know, everybody deserves respect that's inside the school.
Yeah.
You know, so what do you think about that?
Well, absolutely zero tolerance for racial slurs. I attended the NAACP town hall.
The town hall was about a month ago, yeah.
Yeah, just a couple weeks ago. The most concerning thing I heard, I mean, there were some good responses, but the most concerning thing I heard was when a parent asked, why was this teacher not removed from the classroom when this incident was being investigated? When this does happen in cases of, let's say, sexual assault or, you know, and the answer was, well, yes, a teacher is removed from the classroom when there's a concern about the safety of the students. And as far as I'm concerned, a student who is called out in that way, a racial slur by a teacher, That's a safety issue. That student could not possibly feel safe in that classroom.
Right.
So I was pretty floored by that response. Yes, absolutely zero tolerance policy.
What should happen with teachers that use that to students? That use words like that?
Oh, a teacher that used a word like that should not be working with students. I mean, obviously there has to be due process and it has to be investigated.
Right.
But yeah, if that is found to have occurred, that person should not be working with students.
Absolutely. Okay. Steve Shue is our county executive. This is a nonpartisan race, which obviously means
Right.
that you're not running as a Democrat, you're not running as a Republican. But since Steve Shue no longer can appoint his board, not the full board yet because they're phasing the elections in.
Right.
You know, it's going to be obvious that he's going to use some of his campaign finance money to finance other people's campaigns that he wants on his board. That's an obstacle, you know, for people like you. How would you deal with that? Or how are you dealing with that?
You know, I'm going out there and I'm not talking politics, I'm talking about education. That's all I'm talking about, and I'm just sharing my message. And my message to voters is, if you like the direction we're heading, then I'm not gonna be your candidate, because my primary, I have two opponents. One, my primary opponent, I would say, because she's been in the race longer, is currently on the board. And then my other opponent, anything I have heard her say has been pretty much that our education system is great and the schools are running great. So,
Which you don't agree with.
right. I see a real need to change direction. And so that's my message. And I hope to get people excited about that.
Yeah.
We need to focus more on the kids.
Yeah,
on the
absolutely.
Kids. Not
So
data,
just leave
not
politics
numbers.
out of school.
Kids.
Yeah,
yes.
absolutely. Last but not least, if elected, you know, how are you going to stay in contact with your constituents? Because obviously schools, just like really everything, it's always changing, right? There's always going to be a different problem in the areas that you represent. How do you plan to keep in touch with the people that you're representing, the students, the
You
parents?
mean as a board member?
As a board member,
As
yeah.
a board, yeah.
How are you going to do that? Because there are reports now of people saying, hey, I called my board member and I didn't get anything. I called his secretary, I didn't get anything. You know, complaining about things that, you know, they're pretty legitimate things to be complaining about and to be worried about, and they don't get any response.
Right.
How are you going to change that?
Right. So I am aware of the board is the vision and the administration is the one, you know, the administration implements and they're the operators. So when a parent, student has an issue and they go to a board member, normally that board member does have to bring in the correct person from the school system to handle that problem, but I would absolutely oversee that, and I would be in touch with that concerned parent or student and say, look, I hear you. Here's what, I'm gonna put you in touch with this person. I'm gonna follow up and make sure that your issue's taken care of.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, Melissa Ellis, she is running for Anne Arundel County Board of Education, District 4. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you
Melissa, if people want to get in contact with you, how can they get in contact with you or your campaign?
Well, I have a website, www.votemelissaellis.com. I'm also on Facebook.
Okay. That's how I started talking to you.
Yeah.
So yeah, again, we're sitting down with Melissa Ellis, again, District 4, Anne Arundel County Board of Education. Go out there and vote. My name is Joseph Olmo, reporting for the Arundel Patriot here in Annapolis High School.